Welcome into After Nebrasketball, USC 78, Nebraska 73. Nebraska's season's pretty much over. Glad to have you with us. Jack Mitchell, Kaleb Henry, Jacob Bigelow will join us shortly. Nebraska falls at home in another close game. Juwan Gary had his career high. USC couldn't miss a free throw or a three-pointer at the end. Nebraska had a bunch of turnovers at the end, and their season is greatly in doubt in terms of their ability to obviously make the NCAA tournament, maybe make the Big Ten tournament. 5 straight losses now with a schedule that does not look forgiving for quite some time. Difficult to get momentum back. So there you go. Kaleb, your thoughts on the game tonight?
I had a lot more fun when we were doing the pregame. Obviously, a lot happened between then and now. The positives for tonight were you hit the half-court shot. The guy got the putt for a Porsche. That was pretty cool. And a Husker fan won Dash for Cash. Those were pretty
winning.
much, yeah, a lot of winning
by the fans.
By the fans. Especially those fans that gave up with like 8 minutes to go in the game and decided to beat traffic because they knew it was nothing but heartbreak awaiting them.
Well, they were right.
I guess they were right. I really wanted them to not be right. I really wanted them to not be right. It was a 3-point game. Like, it was a 1-possession game. And I really wanted them to not be right. But ultimately they were. And for the first time all year, a team shoots under 39% and from 3, and Nebraska loses. Nebraska, of course, by the way, shot 20.8% from deep, made just 5 threes on the entirety of the night. You had now 2 of those makes did come from Bryce Williams, but Bryce and Juwan Gary, who combined for 44 points, went 2 for 13 from deep. Nebraska got out-rebounded only by 5 at the end, but got doubled up on offensive rebounds. Now, that didn't turn into a whole lot of second-chance points. It was only 9 apiece, so not the biggest of deals there. But for long stretches of this game, I don't know what Nebraska wants its offensive identity to be. I don't know who's supposed to be the guy. Early on, when Connor Essegian came in, hit a 3 right away, hit another 3, you went, okay, you've got on-fire Connor Essegian. He made only 1 more the rest of the game. So, and you had Juwan Gary, who put up the first 5 shots for Nebraska. Obviously concerning, but ultimately he shoots 11 for 14 inside the arc. Eliminate those threes for the love of Jesus, because you are shooting a really high percentage inside the arc, Juwan. They made 5 of 6 at the free throw line. Nebraska ultimately shoots 14 of 17 at the line. That wasn't the Achilles heel tonight like we had seen in a couple of other games. You got I don't know where Bryce was for much of this game. It took 16 minutes for Bryce.
I have no idea.
Yeah, it took 16 minutes for him to even take a shot. But you're luckily in that game because of the combination of Juwan Gary and Connor Essegian through that first half. Bryce obviously came on late. He ends up with 17 points, 5 of 12 shooting. It was a struggle for him a lot of the time. He hit a big 3 to tie it, and then you go and USC runs the entirety of the shot clock, hits a 3 as the buzzer goes off. And then on the other end, you dribble around at half court for 20 seconds and ultimately end up getting a layup out of it. But you burned so much time to take a shot that was not going to tie the game. And it's fine if you want to get 2s and then you want to play the foul and hope that they miss and you're still in the game. But you don't do that if you burn 25 seconds off the shot clock. And then the next time down, there was 18 seconds left and you're down 3. And it took 12 seconds off the clock for you to end up getting that layup. Like, why are you just dribbling around? I don't know where any of the urgency is for this team in winning time. Maybe there's a feeling in their head. There's a mindset of here we go again, because that's what's happened over these last 5. They've been in these tight games, but there is nobody stepping up and saying, I'm just going to go get it done. Even with Bryce Williams hitting these big shots, that's great to see, but nobody is just going and making it happen. They go into stand around and hope mode, and that's not a mode you want to be in as an offense at any point in the game, let alone in winning time.
Yeah. Or forcing drives But there's one person not forcing drives, and that's Bryce Williams, who I believe is the best player, a best scorer when driving to the hoop on the team, and he doesn't do it, or he decides to at the end. I guess I don't know.
He was the reason that Nebraska kind of went on that stretch and gets the game tied up, because he did drive and got to the free throw line and then started to hit a couple shots. That's what happened at the end, but like, where is that?
He was 3 of 4 for 2-pointers. 3 of 4. And
now, like,
I thought USC he was 2 of 8.
USC played pretty physical defense, and Bryce has shown that if you do that, it takes him out a little bit. But how did Connor Esigian come in and get free right away?
Raleigh drives it in constantly. I mean, like,
yeah, like for Bryce Williams, because he's 6'7". He's 6'7", 214. At some point, you got to bully somebody.
I don't know if something's wrong. I don't know, but that you can take the defense, you can take the turnovers, you can take everything else. But if your best player is almost a non-factor on offense until the very last minutes of every game, then it doesn't matter. It's not going to matter in this league. And you've seen it. Yeah. We've seen him be good, but we've seen him be good. But the turnovers are worse with him this year. And then just the lack of throwing a little caution to the wind ever. And other people end up doing it. Juwan certainly isn't scared to do that. Raleigh isn't scared to do that. But Bryce is best suited to do it. And he rarely does. And I don't get it. I can't understand it. Why he does not have, I don't know if he doesn't have the confidence, the green light, the energy if something else is wrong, but I don't know. And I don't know if that would have been enough tonight, but man, it gives you a better shot on offense than what they're doing most of the time. It really does.
And it was a super sleepy 17, maybe because Nebraska, it was a tight game going into half, and it took those 16 minutes for Bryce to even take a shot. Let's say he early on in the first half, when you've got that run of Juwan Gary and Connor Esigian, and it's like, okay, you've got a couple of guys shooting the ball well overall, in Juwan inside the arc, Connor outside the arc. Where in there can you mix up, post up Bryce Williams? Like where can you find a way to get him a couple shots and get him going? He was the 5th leading scorer in the Big Ten. At some point, you scheme something to get him a friggin' shot. Yeah, it makes absolutely no sense that, and this isn't necessarily even a Bryce Williams mentality. This is a, what are you doing from a coaching standpoint to not get the 5th leading scorer in the Big Ten Conference a shot early in the game?
Yeah. I don't get it, man. It feels like we're missing something because it's changed. It has changed for him, and I don't know why. I don't know if it's physical or mental or the type of defense they're playing against him. But, we saw him last year against Big Ten defenses. I mean, come on, right? We saw him against Illinois last year.
This isn't
almost
new.
single-handedly.
This isn't new for him.
Like, we saw him against Texas A&M last year, against good, big physical defenses. Like, we saw that.
Yeah.
When he decided he was the only person who could do anything in those games, right? Like, I don't get it. There's plenty of other problems. That's not the only one. You mentioned the offensive rebounds. You thought Nebraska had a really solid rebounding team, and USC seemed to get every offensive rebound tonight. You mentioned it. 12-6 was the number for offensive rebounds. Man, that felt brutal tonight. All those opportunities made a giant difference in this game to give UCLA the putback attempts too. And, this wasn't a lot of people were frustrated because Nebraska kept losing the same way by giving up huge numbers from the 3-point line. They didn't tonight until the very end, and to the guy who never shoots a 3 all year, or has 6 threes all year. And then tonight goes 4 for 6 in AG for USC. And of course, Claude hits just the absolute, backbreaker as well. And he was 1 for 2. It was the only one he made tonight. the only one he
Yeah.
made tonight. But
Yeah.
In Nebraska, the other thing is they were getting to they were scoring at the rim. After all of this, Nebraska, we thought Braxton Mia was on here as a rim protector. We after Texas A&M and Illinois, we said Nebraska desperately needs a rim protector. And what do we see? But players scoring just at will from inside, going into the rim, and nobody being able to defensively stop him. No physicality inside. Same thing. So Jacob Bigelow joins us right now. Hello, Jacob. Your thoughts on the game tonight?
First and foremost, Jack, is that an Orlando Magic hat?
Yeah, I got it in some kind of a stupid grab bag, and I thought I match my shirts to my hat, so there's black here, so
there's
it looks good.
Nothing wrong with.
I don't know.
No,
I used to like the Magic.
Well, I like it. I like the hat. I mean, I kind of, I don't want to be like I kind of saw this coming guy, but I like the Desmond Claude performance. I kind of saw coming from a mile away. He just picked apart, Nebraska's pick and roll coverage. They did adjust it at one point, but I mean, I can just echo what we heard from both Fred Hoiberg and Bryce Williams and Juwan Gary. They got asked what the difference was, and it was toughness. That was the answer from Bryce Williams and Juwan Gary. Fred Hoiberg reiterated just toughness, and they got out hustled on 50-50 balls and 50-50 plays and all those cliches, but they got beat on all those by USC tonight. There's the horn.
There it is.
Something about me bringing out the horn, I guess.
Right on time.
Right on time. And I heard you, talking about, thinking Nebraska had a rim protector. We also thought Nebraska was going to have a point guard. Nebraska now clearly has a point guard problem, and they attempted to fix it with a lineup change.
That was quick. What were your top 20 favorite moments of the Aaron Eulis' starting point guard era?
Yeah.
Well, Aaron Eulis, by the way, quickly became the caulk of the game. 0 for 1 shooting for the night. Also had 2 turnovers in his 14 minutes first start at Nebraska. Bigelow, you were in there and you're talking about and we knew that they were going to say this. Everyone in the world knew this is where the press conference was going to go. How many times can you lose? I guess now 5 in a row. What does this team do to where it's not toughness? What does this team do where it's just want to? Because that to me is where it is. It's guys wanting to do things, not necessarily how tough any individual is.
Yeah, I mean, I completely and totally agree with you. I mean, when Bryce Williams, I will say this. I mean, the body language from Bryce Williams and Juwan Gary was some of the worst post-game body language I've seen. And that is not just this season. That is the 3.5 seasons that I've been going to these press conferences, coming to these games in a media capacity, and see that from your 2 sixth-year guys who you took to Big Ten Media Day, who came into the season saying, this is it. This is our last ride. We want to leave a legacy at Nebraska. And, Fred Hoiberg alluded to Bryce Williams calling a, team meeting, this week, the classic players only meeting. We're checking these boxes already and it's only January. So we're checking the boxes like players only meetings and questioning toughness and all sorts of not so great, things for Nebraska. And, they're on a 5-game slide in January, and it's January, and they're going on the road again on Sunday. I will be there, boots on the ground in Madison for what could be a not great day at the office. So I will be in the building in Madison, and the football team I root for plays in the AFC Championship game that day. So I'm sure it'll be a fantastic Sunday. What could possibly go wrong? Yeah, hell of a hot streak for me personally. Just keeps rolling. Just keeps on rolling here into 2025.
Yeah, let's see. 44% field goals from USC, 49% for Nebraska. Here we go. 3-point shots. Oh, Nebraska 5 for 24 from 3. 5. So the opponent couldn't hit threes, but Nebraska couldn't either. Bryce Williams 2 for 8. Bearcay 0 for 3. Juwan Gary 0 for 5. Hoiberg 0 for 1. Worcester 0 for 1 as well. Just a couple of stats out there as I'm looking at these right now. Nebraska's rebounding leader, Raleigh Worcester. Raleigh Worcester with Nebraska's rebounding leader with 6. How about that? Yeah, I don't even know where to go, guys, because all the things you thought you had with this team, right? A coach that could adjust when the problems arose significantly. The Big Ten Coach of the Year last year, right? Experience, calm under pressure, want to be back. All of those things you thought you had. A better defensive team, better rim protectors, all of these things you thought you had, and they're just not there right now. They're just not there at all right now. And it has put them in a position now where your goal right now is to make the Big Ten tournament at this point. And that's going to take a little bit of work. The schedule gets a little easier, but you're not even thinking about, we're not going to be talking about the NCAA tournament right now, barring something crazy happening for a few games. And that sucks. Like, that's a tough spot to be in because we're still in January, guys. But that's where we are right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, hindsight is always 2020, but I mean, looking at these last 5 games, I mean, I just think back to, the start of some of those earlier games, and it just tells you how thin this team's margin for error really was. Like, looking back at games like that Creighton game, like that Indiana game in December that feels like an eternity ago, to open up, Big Ten play where, I think after that game, they were a top 10 defense in the country on KenPom. And just what a difference a little over a month can make. I mean, I'm just looking at some, advanced stats. USC was 11 for 15 at the rim tonight. They were, 21 of 40 from 2, just 6 of 21 from 3. A guy who came into tonight with just 6 made threes on the year goes out and makes 4. And Rashawn Ajee, who Eric Musselman, described as a pick and pop 5. He said, if you look at the stats, you won't think he's a shooter, but we see it every day in practice. He goes out, he hits 4. They have a kid who played 9 minutes tonight. He'd only played 75 minutes on the whole season, came in with 15 points on the year. He has 7 points tonight alone and makes his second made 3 of the year. I mean, there's just all these boxes that it feels like I'm making it up, dropping stuff like that. But that's really how tonight went. And looking at, Juwan Gary has a career high, 27 points. Bryce Williams has to, fight, scrap, and claw his way to 17 after it took almost 16 minutes in the first half for him to even get a shot up. And, Fred Hoiberg said after the game, USC was crowding him. They were, getting after, they were doing, what they needed to defensively to deny him the ball, deny him looks in the first half. And he scraps and claws his way to 27. Connor Essegian, starts 3 of 3 from 3 and then doesn't make another 3. Ends up with 15 points, and Nebraska made 5 threes on the night. 3 of those 5 were from one guy, and then and then 2 from Williams. So 2 guys made your threes, and you put up 73, and you just have the 3 guys in double figures, and 44 of the 73 is from 2 guys. I mean, it's a very, there's a lot of all the fears you had with this team have come out into the open in the last 5 games.
Worst thing imaginable. That's all you got to say. Worst thing imaginable.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's all it is.
I mean,
Nightmare.
even when they were winning, there were still these questions, and there's still these, big like elephants in the room. 3-point shooting, scoring. Who do you go to when Bryce Williams is having an off night? I mean, all these questions have been there throughout the year, and they have reared their ugly head and then some, over these last 5.
What's the biggest change? Kaleb, I'll ask you this, and I'll ask Jacob too. What's the biggest change? What is this team not doing well that they did do well this season, even against quality opponents? Like, I know there are some people that are going to say, well, this team has just been crap the whole year. It's always been smoke and mirrors. I don't personally buy that, but I don't buy it. Something is not clicking now that did at some point this season. what's the biggest? I mean, for me, it's Bryce, but I'm curious of what you guys think it is.
Nebraska was able to get away with some stuff offensively because the defense was so locked down.
Yeah.
And for the majority of that, I mean, sans the Creighton game, the majority of that was against bad non-conference opponents, but that Indiana, like you could still say there's a name on there, even if they go get the crap beat out of them quite a bit. And you beat UCLA,
right.
who went through some bad stuff. Like you got a couple of conference wins. Now, to me, the biggest difference is obviously you saw defensively over this 5-game stretch, other than tonight, Nebraska has let teams absolutely go berserk from 3. So
Right.
that's hard. That's hard for you to do anything because Nebraska shot 50% the other day and lost. So you go through and you have these things that happen. For me, Nebraska is being out physicaled, and there are times that you're seeing it, and that's what took Connor Esiason out of the first few Big Ten games. You've seen Bryce Williams struggle with that early on in these games before he finds a way to turn. He just turns it on. How do you turn it on at the tip? How do you make that happen early? And it's tough to go out and try to be the physical aggressor when there is inconsistent officiating. It took us almost 22 minutes for us to say anything about the officiating, but it is extremely inconsistent. To me, that's not, in a tight game still, 5 points at the end, that's not the reason for the loss, but it is a factor over the course of a game when you're trying to go through and say, how physical can I be on defense versus what physicality do I have to deal with while I have the ball on offense? So much of it, and that's why Nebraska's defense was successful, is Nebraska was able to be the physical aggressor, and they have not been that over this 5-game stretch.
Yeah.
And add that into still extremely inconsistent offensive abilities or philosophies or whatever the hell is supposed to be happening on this end of the floor.
Yeah. Jacob, your thoughts on that? And we're not going to go much longer. I'm going to wrap this so you guys can leave and go to bed. But Jacob, your thoughts on that same thing?
Yeah, I mean, just the defensive intensity has been, I mean, it's from what it was. I mean, I hate to sound like a broken record, but from what it was a month ago to what it is now, it's night and day different. The rotations are a step slow. They're, the closeouts. I mean, I've said it all before, on this show, and obviously, USC doesn't go nuclear from 3 tonight. They only end up with 6 makes, but Fred Hoiberg has openly said, we gotta, the defense, the way they defend is built on either shutting off the paint or shutting off 3 from 3. And, you obviously can't have both. And USC just did their thing in the paint tonight. They made it look way too easy, and just the defensive intensity that I feel like we've heard for multiple seasons now. Fred Hoiberg say that has to be the constant for this team, the constant for the program. The supposed new identity that was instilled a couple years ago with Griesel and Vandemel. They've gone away from that, and what was supposed to be this gritty, grimy, dirty team, they got out toughed by a team of guys who all met each other this summer. No, Nebraska's team mostly met each other this summer too, but they didn't. I mean, it's year 1 under a first-year coach, and they got out toughed by a team in its first year of being the program that it is now tonight. And there's definitely a lot to bring into question, but I think it starts with defense, because that's what we've heard Fred Hoiberg and the players we've heard from say has to be the constant for this team's success, and it's been slipping, and their record has followed suit.
12
and still,
go ahead.
Even with all of that, Nebraska outscored USC by 10 in the 10 in the paint, 42-32. The big difference when you look at kind of those extra stats is the fast break. And what happened on the fast break? It's not that Nebraska had a whole lot more turnovers, only 11 to USC's 9. Like that's not a terrible night. But here's the one part in all of this where you're looking at the physicality of a team, how tough they are. These other teams that are beating Nebraska right now are, and maybe not Iowa for the most part. Iowa just got stupid hot late in the game. These other teams are more athletic than Nebraska is.
Yeah.
When they roll guys out there. And I know there are times when you can see Juwan Gary's going to go up and he's a tough dude. That's what he is. I don't think he's outrageously fit. He's outrageously athletic. He can do athletic things. There are guys on this team that can do athletic things. USC in the open fast court, like on a fast break, they're throwing down dunks. And there's not a lot of that for Nebraska, where it's kind of a step slow. Nebraska's not an outrageously athletic team when you look across the Big Ten. And in the way this team has been built is almost like what the Big Ten was. And we talked about this the other day, what the Big Ten was 2, 3, 4 years ago. And now you look across the Big Ten, and it's a lot of athletic guards and athletic wings, and then bigs that can kind of shoot a three if you leave them open. And Nebraska just is not built that way right now.
Well, if Nebraska wants to make the end of this season interesting again, they're going to have to win some games that are going to be difficult. The next 3 games, they'll be significant underdogs in at Wisconsin, Illinois, at home, and then at Oregon. I mean, if you want to make any level of something being interesting again this year, you probably somehow need to steal one of those. That sounds like an incredibly tall task right now. Don't at me. I freaking know. But anyway, just saying. Look, I'm annoyed with comments I haven't even read. So there you go. And then you got Wisconsin, Illinois at home, at Oregon, then at Washington, and then Ohio State and Maryland at home back to back. We'll see if they can do something, if they can pull off a few upsets, because that's what they'll have to do right now. Just to make this interesting at the end and make it not be a situation of hanging on for dear life to get into the Big Ten tournament, which is not where anyone expected them to be this year. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap it so you guys can go home. It's 11 o'clock, and so I can go to bed. Thanks. I don't know how we had so many viewers when I basically said I was going to mail it in, but thank you for that anyway. Jacob, Kaleb, thank you guys for hanging out there late. I appreciate it. And Kaleb will be back here on Friday, the day after tomorrow, to talk
NCAA tournament confidence ratings. Ooh, let's see where that graph goes.
I'm gonna sleep on that one, but we'll see.
We'll give those ratings, but I think we also need to start giving our Big Ten tournament confidence ratings.
Oh God. This is gonna be February. Wow. All right, there you go.
Central, Friday, right here.
On that note, thanks for hanging out, everybody. Appreciate you staying up late with us. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.